So, should women make men wait for sex? Well, short answer, long answer. I'm going to give you a long answer like I normally do, but I wanted to talk about why I got into looking at this and kind of examining it. I'm going to talk about philosophical reasons, but I also want to talk about scientific, science-based reasons. And I got that from a Theo Vaughn podcast with Dr. Tara Swart, and a great podcast, lots of information in there. But she talks specifically about this in regard to just the hormones in our body. So I want to start there where if you're courting and you're in a relationship and the woman is making the man wait, what happens in the body for the man is hormones start pumping up, and one of them is called vasopressin. And I guess, and again, this is what, according to Dr. Tara Swart in the podcast, that those are related to blood volume, and they're related to aggression, they're related to bonding, and they build in the body, and especially aggression towards like protecting the other person. So they're building in that courting process. And when we orgasm, we release, and our, as our genetics are, we want to spread our seed. But if we are more bonded to that person, right, and we have more time, we're going to release more oxytocin when we orgasm, and we're going to be more bonded to that female. So with women, they're looking for that bonding, and they're going to build as well. It's the same sort of thing on their end, but it's more effective in regard to the man. So if you, as a woman, have sex early, there's not as much of that hormone building, and there's not going to be as much of a release of that oxytocin, which is a bonding chemical that brings you together with your partner. So in regard to making men wait, for a woman, if you want that man to stick around, her quote is, it definitely works better for the woman in terms of chances for bonding with the man. If she wants him to stay, then you have to make him wait. There would be better chances if you make him wait for sex. Because again, if he's not orgasming and it's building, that vasopressin is building, he's getting more, right, testosterone, he's getting more of this like feeling of again, protection for this person. And then when he does eventually orgasm, he's going to have much more of this oxytocin, and he's going to bond with that female. So again, if you're just looking at it from a hormonal perspective, there's a lot of advantages for the woman. Now today, the philosophical side of things, it's like, well, the woman, she has needs and she wants to have fun and have pleasure and things like that. But again, it goes down to what you're thinking about. What do you really want out of this other person? Do you just want a one-night stand? Well, then you can give it up. But if you really want them to stick around, just on the hormonal level, that's one area. But think about it psychologically. For me, and this is what I was going to talk about this, episode with you guys, but then I came across this podcast and I was like, wow, it goes hand in hand to what I was thinking with my experience. So my experience is, if the sooner the girl puts out, the sooner we have sex, the less interested I am. It's a very strange thing, but no matter how much I like the girl initially, no matter how much I'm attracted to them, the sooner they put out, the less attracted I am to them after that orgasm. And I think it goes back to these hormones. It doesn't get a chance to build. I don't get that bonding with that person without sex. I don't get that feeling of protectiveness. And then psychologically, if you then think about it from my perspective, I look at someone and it's like, well, maybe I just wanted to have sex. Like I do. We talked about testosterone in the last video, and checking to see how you are. I feel like I'm still 13, right? I have that same sex drive. So I'm looking for it. But what I'm saying is what I really want in my heart and soul is I want a partner, and I want someone that is going to be a good wife, a good girlfriend, a good partner in life. And for me, psychologically, if you're someone who's quick to sleep with someone, what does that mean? Maybe you're going to be quick to cheat on me. Maybe not, right? Maybe you just like to have sex with multiple partners. Hey, I've been there, done that. But what I'm saying is psychologically, you look at that person and you go, are they really committed to the long term? I know it sounds weird because you're like, well, JD, as a man, Don't you sleep with a bunch of women? Women can't do that. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not fair, but yeah, you can't, because I look at you differently immediately after you give it up. Psychologically, I go, well, this person, they're more interested in sex than they are in they're not even respective of their own. I know it sounds strange when I say this, but I just want to be honest. It's almost like they don't respect themselves enough to not let me get this physical thing that I want. Because especially in that interaction, if it's someone that I just met that night, it's just physical attraction. You can't really build this deep connection with someone in 2 hours at a bar, especially when you're intoxicated. So when you think about it in that way, and I'm sober the next morning, and I'm looking at this person in my bed, it doesn't matter how attracted I am, I start to think about them as a person. And because they just put out so quickly, I go, well, maybe this isn't a good long-term partner, because they're probably going to be thinking about that. If it only took 2 hours for me to get them to take their clothes off, imagine if they're with someone else, or imagine we're in a relationship and we have a fight and then they go out. Do I trust that person? So there's all these things that go on subconsciously. I think a lot of that happens subconsciously for me, and then it started happening all the time, and I go, geez, you know what I mean? Like, I really want a partner, and I'm going out and I'm finding these great women, and I don't even call them the next day. And it's not because I don't want a partner, I just look at them differently. It's a strange thing, but psychologically for me, that's what I was running into. And then I watch this podcast and I go, oh, it makes sense. I go, oh, okay. Well, if these hormones aren't building, if I'm not bonding with this person, if I'm not releasing as much oxytocin, that bonding chemical, then of course I'm going to feel like that. Once I'm done with my business, I'm like, okay, well, I kind of stamped my territory and I can move on. Whereas someone that takes their time with it, someone that's more conservative with their body. I remember it happened to me where someone, I took them home and, we hit it off and we were both, intoxicated, and I thought everything was going to go down that route. And she said, no, I want to wait. And it was the weirdest thing, because in the moment I'm like, no, and my ego is like, well, what the heck, you know what I mean? Like, well, you either don't like me or you don't find me attractive, you don't want me. But then the next morning I found myself thinking about her. And then, you know what I mean? So it's a weird thing where I'm like, okay, well, I'm more interested. Why did she, do that? So again, it's a weird thing where, as much as we men might say to women, that's we want that, please give it to me, there's a fine line where if you give it too early, you're going to, again, make the guy think about you in a different way. Plus, you have all these hormonal things that aren't happening in the body. If you wait too long, so this is the other caveat, if you wait too long, then what happens? Maybe then the guy starts looking at it and going, well, I have needs. I don't think that she finds me attractive. Maybe she just wants me for some other reason. Maybe she just wants the status of being with me, or maybe she just wants, to have a relationship, but she doesn't really interested in me. It's just I'm filling this place for her at this time in her life. I'm being that emotional support. I'm buying her things. I'm taking her out, but she's just doing that to do that. She's not really interested in me. One of my love languages is physical touch. So if you're not having sex with me, I don't think that you love me. I know it sounds weird after what I just said, but again, I can have that physical touch through kissing, cuddling, doing all those other things. But again, if you're not giving it up at a certain point in the relationship, that's going to be tough as well. So I don't know the right answer to that. I just know from my experience, the first night probably isn't the best thing to do. And maybe that's all it takes for a guy to build up enough hormones, because maybe the first date was on Friday and then you waited 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks of texting and calling and, maybe a coffee here or a date there. And then in 2 weeks you have sex. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough for that hormone to build. I don't know exactly, but again, that's going to depend on the person. But I know in my experience, the first night, if you go out, it does change something with me psychologically. And I know now it does something to me hormonally. So as a woman, if you're looking for bonding with a partner, I would hesitate to go all the way. I would hesitate to even, take a call and like go to that. I would, go back to middle school. All right. kiss, first base, second base, third base. Take your time with these things and develop a relationship with the person. And think about it, right? As a woman, if all he wants is sex, do you really want to be around him anyways? And then same thing with the man. If you're looking at a girl and she just wants to have sex, how does that play into your psychology? Yeah, maybe it might be great. Maybe it might feel great. Man, you're so attracted to her. But then what does that mean for long term? And as I've gotten older, I guess I'm maturing, or I'm just looking at life differently. But I do notice that what I'm more attracted to now is more of that conservative side, because that means to me that she's going to be a certain type of partner. Now, it could not mean that at all. Of course, she could just be doing it. She could watch this video and then use that just to get me, and then she's a terrible person, let's just say. But what I think on average is again, if those hormones are working in the right way, if you're developing a relationship that's not based just off of sex, I think you have better chances for the future anyways. So my opinion, make them wait, but don't make them wait too long, because again, there's that fine line. But that's kind of this a hormonal response, but also this psychological response from my perspective. Again, this is just my perspective. This is just my opinion. The opinion of Dr. Tara Swart, Swart, on Theo Von's podcast. I'm going to link to that in the bio or in the description. That's something that if you really want to understand more about these relationships and these hormones and things, it's a great podcast. Theo's hilarious as well, and she plays along with him too, so it's pretty funny. But great podcast on love and bonding and sex and all of that kind of stuff. So check that one out. But that's just my opinions on the subject, and I hope you got something out of that. Thanks.